Hi, I'm Mike Thornton, and today I'm going to take a look in this review at the TNT Voice Executor, which is the latest release from Audified. And they describe it as a unique utilitarian plugin offering no-nonsense processing of vocal and spoken word tracks. So this is clearly a voice processing plugin, but it has minimal controls. Essentially, you can select a preset from the preset menus. So we've got rap, vocals, speech, and special. And then all you need to do is to adjust the input and output level controls and adjust the amount of drive to get as much processing as you would like. And this definitely picks up on a plugin design trend where all of the work is done under the hood and there's relatively few options to adjust on the user interface, with most of the work being done from these presets. So the first example I want to play you is a voiceover from a film documentary. Let's take a listen.
In this sequence, we move from a factory floor to the living conditions of the factory workers.
So let's choose a preset. So we're going to speech, and I'm going to choose male speech natural. I don't want to over process this. It's not appropriate for this particular genre. So now we can start to play.
In this sequence, we move from a factory floor to the living conditions of the factory workers. Watching the people as they work, you may note that the factory appears to be up to date with bright lighting and modern equipment. You can see
so maybe we just need a little bit more output just to compensate.
The assembly line seems calm and orderly. People are working efficiently and with skill, focused on the task at hand.
And there we go. Very quickly, I've been able to get the sort of sound that I would want for this particular style and genre. So next, let's take a look at a female film documentary voiceover. And so we can choose a preset. Again, female speech natural. We'll leave the drive right down, so effectively that's in bypass.
Of people and trade have different impacts depending on where individuals stand in these unequal worlds. This makes the United States-Mexico border one of the most contested
so we're losing
on the
some
globe.
Gain.
The globalized flows of people and
Perhaps
trade
have
different impacts depending on where individuals stand in these unequal worlds.
Just use the output level.
This makes the United States-Mexico border one of the most contested on the globe.
Now the next clip I've got here is a radio documentary voiceover. So again, let's just reset everything.
In Divide and Conquer, one of Subliminal's biggest hits, the words represent his right-wing nationalism.
Now this will need to sit over music beds. So again, back into the speech presets, and this time I'm going to choose male speech clear, because that will help to cut it through
In
the
Divide
bed.
and Conquer, one of Subliminal's
so again,
biggest hits,
we can drive that
the words
perhaps a little bit
represent his
harder.
right-wing nationalism. Being strong in the face of war and being proud to be Israeli also come through. In Divide and Conquer, one of Subliminal's biggest hits, the words represent his right-wing nationalism. Being strong in the face of war and being proud to be Israeli also come through.
So that will really help this voiceover cut through over music beds. This last clip, again, is a radio documentary and it's a presenter. Let's take a quick listen.
To be honest, I was having great fun being a barman. The staff at this bar worked really hard to try and create a party atmosphere.
So it's quite thin in sound, and certainly for me, for a contemporary type of documentary, that isn't really the right sort of sound. So let's go back into the presets and see what we can achieve. So let's look at male speech huge. And let's start playing that and wind that in.
Great fun being a barman. The staff at this bar worked really hard to
that's
try and create
already
a party
doing
atmosphere and make sure the
what I
punters are
need.
well
So perhaps
lubricated
drive it a little
and
bit harder.
entertained. But there is a fine line between a party and a drunken free-for-all.
So bypass.
To be honest, I was having great fun being a barman. The staff at this bar worked really hard to try and create a party atmosphere and make sure the punters are well lubricated and entertained.
So there we go. Very quickly, I've been able to get that sort of radio DJ presenter sound from the preset and just adjusting the input and output levels. Now, before we finish, there's a couple of presets in the specials menu that I want to show you. So if we go into special, the first one I want to show you is What You Say.
To be honest, I was having great fun being a barman. The staff at this bar worked really hard to try and create a party atmosphere.
So So you've got that sort of PA effect, which may well be quite useful if you need to recreate that sort of style. Very quick, very easy, especially for like commercials and adverts. So that's what you say. Then the next one I want to show you is Hello Apollo. Take a listen to this.
To be honest.
So yeah, you've got a long repeat echo with a lot of EQ in the repeat. So what do I think? Well, it's definitely a preset-driven voice and vocal processor with minimal controls, which can be a little bit restrictive, but once you get the hang of it, you can get it to do the necessary. I would prefer if this section of indicators were more than indicators, you could actually click on it and just bypass individual sections. I think this plugin is very much aimed at the sort of non-audio specialist with a view to being able to process speech and vocals easily without lots of training and understanding about what's going on. But is that really the right thing to do with dynamics and EQ, which can be so dependent on the content? I'm not sure. But if you want a tool that'll process speech quickly and easily and get you a result without lots of controls to adjust, then you should check out the TNT Executor from Audified. I'll see you again soon.